The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army. And now, ladies and gentlemen,
you're now about to witness the truth.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. It is Thursday, February 18, 2016. I want to thank you for joining me. You could have been anywhere in the world today, but you decided to spend time with me, and I definitely appreciate that. Let's get it started with the Daily Brief, your Progressive Army Daily Brief. President Obama plans a historic trip to Cuba. The White House said on Thursday that President Obama will travel to Cuba next month for the first visit by a sitting American president in 88 years. Mr. Obama's trip will come just 15 months after the U.S. and Cuba announced plans to restore their ties after a diplomatic freeze lasting more than 50 years. Clyburn Bundy and 4 others are indicted for Nevada ranch standoff. Justice was delayed in the case of the insurrectionist Clyburn Bundy, age 69, but he did not escape in the end. After being arrested upon his arrival in Portland, Oregon on February 10th, he was denied bail Tuesday as a flight risk, and he was indicted on Wednesday along with his son, Amon, who led the takeover of the Mueller National Wildlife Refuge. His son, Ryan, and 2 other men, Ryan Payne and Peter Santilli, were also indicted. Together, the 5 men are facing 16 felony charges for the 2014 Oregon standoff, the event which emboldened the Bundys to seize the wildlife refuge. Interesting story coming out of LA. Los Angeles hospital pays ransom to restore computer network. A Los Angeles hospital paid nearly $17,000 in ransom to hackers who breached and disabled its computer network, the hospital said in a statement on Wednesday. Hollywood Presbyterian Medical Center paid the ransom of 40 Bitcoins, which is currently worth $16,664 in order to restore the computer system that was infiltrated on February 5th. The hackers used a malware that locks systems by encrypting files and demanding ransom to be obtained, the decryption key. The White House includes millennial civil rights activists in a meeting with President Obama. In an unprecedented meeting with Black Lives Matter, President Obama met with a number of young millennial generational civil rights leaders at the White House today. Because President Obama will convene leaders with different generations, it is described as an event of first of its kind. But not all of the invited activists accepted the invitation. The co-founder of the Chicago-based Black Lives Matter, Aislinn Pulley, wrote an op-ed stating that she refused to meet with President Obama because the Black struggle is not a soundbite or a photo opportunity. Interesting story coming out of Silicon Valley. Tech founder rants against the homeless. A San Francisco-based tech company founder is upset about the city's homelessness problem. Not upset at the 6,600 people who are homeless in a city with skyrocketing housing costs, but that the wealthy working people and their relatives have to see them. In an open letter to the San Francisco mayor and chief of police, Justin Keller, the founder of Commando.io, described 3 incidents involving homeless people who were drunk or high and publicly distraught. This is a direct quote. "The residents of this amazing city no longer feel safe. I know people are frustrated about gentrification happening in the city, but the reality is we live in a free market society. The wealthy working people have earned their right to live in the city. They went out, got an education, worked hard, and earned it. I should not have to worry about being accosted. I shouldn't have to see the pain, the struggle, and the despair of homeless people to and from my way to work every day," Keller quoted. I'm doing my best not to give commentary yet. I'll give commentary in a minute. Finally, Pope Francis declares that building a wall is anti-Christian. In a response to a question asked by reporters about comments from Donald Trump, who referred to the Pope as a pawn for the Mexican government, Trump says that he was going to build a wall. The Pope responded in saying during his in-flight news conference from Juarez to Rome, Pope Francis stated that the recent criticism from Donald Trump, who called the Pope political and threatened to build a wall along the US-Mexican border. He stated and said, a person who thinks only about building walls, whether they may be and not building bridges, it is not a Christian thing to do. This is not the gospel, the Pope said on Thursday. You know what's very difficult for me, Progressive Army, is to read all of this. And when something that's your daily briefing. Let's move on. When something jumps off the pages at me, I'm like, oh my God, I have to talk about this right now. But I'm trying to discipline myself not to always give you my opinion. If you want my opinion, just stay a little bit later and you can get my opinion. I'm talking about all of these things tonight, particularly Pope Francis, Silicon Valley tech founder in the broader context of poverty in America. We'll be talking about the Black Lives Matter activists that went to the White House, along with those that did not go to the White House. We'll also be talking a little bit with a candidate from Nevada, one last candidate from Nevada as we get closer to the Nevada primaries. We'll be speaking, if we can get him on the line. He's at a Bernie Sanders event right now in Nevada, Jesse Spade. We're going to try to get a conversation with him before the end of the night. And if we don't, that's fine. We'll try to get him next time. But you can join the conversation, 857-600-0518. Let's get the party started. I want to start at the top. Yeah, I'm applauding myself again just to give myself some room to move some screens over here. Actually, I want to start at the top discussing Bernie Sanders leading in a new Fox News poll that just came out late this afternoon. It is the first time that Bernie Sanders has led in a national poll. And this is just one of many polls. And I'm going to share the data from Real Clear Politics. I'm going to share it on your screen, and you can see the convergence of the polling data, starting far back as, let's see, they started in, it looks like August. I'll share it on your screen now. Those of you who are listening via Spreaker, I'll just describe it to you. But you can see for the Fox News poll, Bernie Sanders is up 3 points ahead of Hillary Clinton. 47 points for Bernie Sanders, 44 points for Hillary Clinton. That is, of course, within the margin of error, but it speaks to a larger trend of Bernie Sanders closing that national gap. And this entire narrative of Sanders not being electable, in a sense, goes out the window because he is closing within the margin of error on all of the averages of the poll. Now, Hillary Clinton is still leading the poll on the CBS. She's up 8 points on the CBS poll. She's still up 10 points on the USA Today Suffolk poll, and she's only up by 2 points on the Quinnipiac poll. The average of all those polls has Hillary Clinton up by 4.3 points, which is just outside the margin of error. The most important thing that we should take away from this is the trend from September, where Hillary Clinton had a 24-point lead. We see the trend over time, closing, and now they are within 4 points of each other. This is bad news for the Hillary Clinton camp, because in a sense, it is as much as they try to make this not 2008 over again. This is very much just like 2008. Except for instead of a young black man, you have an old white man. And that's one of the narratives that Hillary Clinton is really pushing as she loses her grip in Nevada. She's really pushing this race narrative, which we'll talk about later. But I just want to harp on the fact that these polls really, at this point, Las Vegas really looks like a toss-up. It is anyone's game in Las Vegas. And nationally, Bernie Sanders is actually performing better in heads-up competitions against every Republican candidate, whereas Hillary Clinton is losing. I believe she's losing against every one of them. I'm pulling up that data now, but it just goes against this narrative that they've tried to push for a very long time, that Bernie Sanders is not electable, when in actuality, he is more electable than Hillary Clinton based on the actual data. And then at some point, this entire notion of polling is thrown out the window when it becomes inconvenient for the people that the polling is showing negative results for. I guess I don't. No, I do understand. I was going to say I don't understand. I do understand the game. You only quote the data when it's good for you. You ignore the data and discredit the polls when it's bad for you. But the reality of it is, this is the second time around for Hillary Clinton, and we see that the strategy of maligning the character of people, this rolling in the dirt that Hillary Clinton's team likes to do. She hasn't done it. She hasn't done it herself on every occasion, but I've seen her do it on one occasion where she really engaged in some heavy-handed propaganda herself. But for the most part, it is her team. Her team will throw propaganda out there as if it was nothing. And the problem is that America already has trust issues with Hillary Clinton. I mean, that's one of the prevailing trends about her entire political career, is that people have a hard time trusting her. And the problem is that I don't think that is registering for her team. They are engaging in tactics that makes it even more, that makes it easier for you not to trust her. And the thing is that the more she doubles down on this type of strategy, the more it backfires. And I think that's where we can see some of the credit to some of the polling. I'm searching desperately here to find this polling data, but it was sent. I forgot what time it was sent to me, but I don't have it. But it basically shows that that Bernie Sanders outperforms each of the Republican candidates, including Marco Rubio, who originally he was losing to as they were polling over the summer. And I guess I could just go right back to Real Clear Politics. And instead of getting it spoon fed to me, I can do heads up matches and bring that to you before the end of the night. But actually, here it is. I have Sanders versus Bush. And for Sanders versus Bush, it has Sanders up the spread, the average. Sanders is up by 8.7 points against Bush. That's just Bush. In a heads-up match against Sanders versus Rubio, he was losing earlier in the summer, and now it has them in a tie. So Sanders is up according to the 6 points by the Quinnipiac poll, but the average, Real Clear average, shows them in a tie. And if we want to compare apples to apples, let's take a Hillary Clinton versus a Marco Rubio, and you'll see that Hillary Clinton loses to Marco Rubio by 4.7 points in the average of the polls. So this entire narrative, we can go one by one, name them, we can keep going. This entire narrative of Bernie Sanders not being electable is counter to the evidence. And that's one of the most frustrating things. Let's take a look at Trump, because Trump is still the prohibitive front runner, apparently, surprisingly enough. The Real Clear average, finally, Hillary Clinton was losing for a while, but Hillary Clinton is up against Donald Trump by only 2.8 points. USA Today and Suffolk poll, they have Trump winning by 2 points. So they're within the margin of error. But if we take a look at Sanders versus Trump, excuse me, Sanders beats Donald Trump in the average of polls by 7.8 points. Well outside the margin of error. Hillary Clinton beats Trump by 2.8 points. Bernie Sanders beats Trump by 7.8 points. Can we finally dispel with the notion that people who are promoting this idea that Bernie Sanders is not electable are actually telling the truth, or that they are being unbiased journalists? They are peddling a false narrative that is contrary to the data. And the question is, how long are we going to just allow them to misrepresent the data as a statement of fact, when the facts are Bernie Sanders performs better in heads-up competitions against every single candidate, better than Hillary Clinton? And there was one that I didn't point out. I do want to do, actually, I think I did. Let's go back to Clinton versus Rubio. Clinton versus Rubio has has Rubio winning by 4.7 points. I didn't point this one out. The average of polls, every single poll, if Marco Rubio becomes the nominee, and I'm telling you something, I said that this summer. I've gotten squeamish on that prediction because of his glitch and his malfunction and his matrix. Marco Rubio, Chris Christie called him out beautifully. I second guessed my prediction, but the establishment has doubled down on Marco Rubio. I've said all that to say, if Marco Rubio becomes the nominee, Hillary Clinton cannot beat him. Not as it stands today. Fox News, Quinnipiac, USA Today, the PPP, even the Democratic poll, the PPP poll done by Democrats has Hillary losing by 2 points to Marco Rubio. The average spread is 4.7 points. Bernie Sanders is more electable than Hillary Clinton. If it were not so, I would have told you. All right, moving on, folks. I know there's a thing that the Democrats are doing tonight, but I personally, whatever. I don't need another town hall. I want another debate. But maybe we'll get done early and we'll go watch that together. How about that? All right. I do want to report this. So even though there's good news coming out of the polling for if you like Bernie Sanders, there's also a report coming out of the Hill stating that Clyburn, Representative Clyburn of South Carolina, is likely to endorse Hillary Clinton. This came out this evening at 6:44 p.m. by the Hill. James Clyburn, the Democrat of South Carolina, he stayed out of the race in 2008, did not endorse either Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton, but he did not escape it this time. And it looks as though he is going to, according to sources, the Hill's sources, it looks as though he is going to endorse Hillary Clinton. No big surprise there. It's an establishment game. It is what it is. And maybe, just maybe, he sincerely believes that Hillary Clinton is going to be better for his constituency. I'd really like to see the justification and the explanation of that. But I'm going to say that he feels that Hillary is the best one for South Carolina. And so be it. Moving on. I still want to hear that justification, though. I really want to hear that justification. Let's do this really quick. President Obama meets with Black Lives Matter today. They actually met, past tense. They've already met, and the purpose of the meeting was just to discuss criminal justice reform, discuss the movement at large. The meeting was scheduled for an hour, according to DeRay McKesson, and President Obama extended it an additional half hour. Quite a few of the new millennial activists showed up to the White House. They were invited, along with some of the older generations of civil rights activists. Not all the names. I don't have all the names of everyone that was there, but according to DeRay McKesson, they had a chance to speak about criminal justice reform. They had a chance to speak about Flint police union contracts, the use of force standards, the school to prison pipeline. And they even talked about this SCOTUS appointment. Now, I do hope that they got a plug in for a they got a plug for a Black woman Supreme Court justice, because we've never had that in all of the existence of the United States. They discussed juvenile solitary confinement. They talked about Laquan McDonald. Now, they're all the things that they said that they talked about, but no reports in terms of what President Obama actually said in response. So I'm sure that will come out in the next few days, what all President Obama said. But yeah, thanks for that reminder, Grossman. I'll take care of that now. But they asked about Laquan McDonald. And so my question is, did they ask about his support for Rahm Emanuel? Because a large part of the problem in Chicago is that Rahm Emanuel still has significant support from his own people, his Democratic friends, including President Obama. So I hope they had a chance to question President Obama about his support for Laquan McDonald. Support for Rahm Emanuel in the cover-up of the shooting of Laquan McDonald. So let's see how that comes out. it will be very interesting to see what President Obama actually said in response to all of these questions. But more importantly, there was an activist who did not show up. And let me take care of some housekeeping here. Folks, if you're in the chat room, I do advise you, listen, on Twitter, I don't block anybody, right? That's just my credo. But the chat room on YouTube and the chat room in Spreaker, they're not my rooms. That's not my space. That is the listener space. So I would advise you to not coming to our chat rooms trolling, because I have just deputized two more moderators to shut it down. Now, if you want some set as moderator, there we go. You can come to Twitter and see me. That's the place you can come see me. But the chat rooms, that's reserved for the listeners. Now, that being said, let's get back to Rahm Emanuel's and his support from Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. That's why he's still in office right now, despite the fact that he has had his hands in the cover up. And so to that extent, there was a Black Lives Matter activist from Chicago who actually rescinded and turned down the invitation, rather, to see and speak with President Obama. And I had a chance to read her explanation as to why. And it actually struck a nerve with me, because it really speaks to the opportunistic nature of politicians in general, but specifically Democratic politicians when they want to get the black vote. They're going to meet with you at the most convenient time, right? They're going to sit down and shake your hand. They're going to show up at your church. They're going to play the saxophone. They're going to do all these things that they think you want to see done during election year. And so finally, at the end, like this criminal justice reform and police violence against black young men and young women and older women and just ridiculousness that we've seen over the years has been happening all throughout President Obama's term. So why now, President Obama? You know, is it just easier because you're going out the door? I'm not going to finish that next sentence. But anyway, so, and I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. If I'm not, please forgive me. Aislinn Pulley, she wrote in truthout.org, she said that the black struggle is not a soundbite. And she gave the reasons why she refused to meet with President Obama, because when we confront issues of policing and incarceration, we must be very intentional about who is framing such dialogues. And her problem with the entire meeting is that President Obama has this ability, just by virtue of his office, to lend a voice to the problem, but not if he reduces the problem down to a single meeting, and reduces it down to shaking hands, and reduces it down to photo opportunities. Now, we don't know if that's how the outcome really is going to be. Her suspicion is, and this is Aislinn from the Black Lives Matter chapter in Chicago, her suspicion is that's exactly probably what's going to happen. And she has just cause to believe this is what's going to happen, because for years, this is all that has happened. Matter of fact, it's not even good enough to just meet with politicians, or rather, it's bad enough that we meet with politicians and they do nothing. We actually live in an environment, like Noah Chonga said last night on the show, where we have black politicians in power and they still don't do anything about the problems that are going on right in their district. And so there comes a point when enough's enough, and I'm not really interested in what a politician has to say unless they're putting boots on the ground in our problem. So she went on to say that we have a long road ahead, but the gains we have made have come through laborious organizing and antagonism of the system. And so she feels as though this meeting, in a sense, is a co-opting opportunity by politicians in general, Democrats in specific. And, she didn't say this, but I'm going to insert this into the conversation, Hillary-friendly Democrats. Because right now, like never before, you see a tremendous amount of pandering. Yes, pandering. And I would say it's coming from both sides, but the reality of it is heavy-handedly coming from Hillary Clinton's camp. You have black leaders, black artists who have lent their voices to Bernie Sanders, right? They see something in Bernie Sanders they like, and they support Bernie Sanders. versus just the collection of black faces that Hillary Clinton is going around the country gathering up. And now all of a sudden, every issue just outside of South Carolina, every issue is a race issue. Every issue, somebody tweeted this, it was so brilliant. And I guess I need to just double back really quickly and give them credit. But it seems like everything that Hillary Clinton now addresses is followed up with how is that going to solve racism? We talk about economics. Hillary Clinton answers, how is that going to solve racism? We could talk about climate change. Hillary Clinton's going to answer, how is that going to solve racism? And this is not my idea. I absolutely, you have to pause. You know, I hate saying something that I didn't come up with and not giving the people credit, but you get the picture. You get what's going on. So right outside of South Carolina, now every single thing is about race for Hillary Clinton, when this has never been the case for Hillary Clinton. And there's not a single person who can tell me otherwise. Hillary Clinton has never been this in love or focused on the black community. And so now all of a sudden, everything is about race. I'm scrolling vigorously. This is from Craig Baker. Thank you, Craig. Brilliant. He said, I swear every single Clinton position from here on should be followed by, but will that end racism? And so the pandering is ridiculous. And so in the sense, if you cast this, I can't even call it serendipity, right? This too convenient of timing. That's not even proper. This timing is far too convenient. That's what I'm looking for. This timing of this meeting with Black Lives Matter is entirely too convenient for the South Carolina primaries and the friendly nature in which Hillary Clinton now in 2016 wraps herself in President Obama. So Bernie Sanders said, this is a quote from Bernie Sanders. He said, you know, Hillary Clinton is now trying to embrace the president as closely as she possibly can. Everything the president does is wonderful. She loves the president. He loves her and all that stuff. And we know what that's about. That's trying to win support from the African-American community, where the president is enormously popular. But you know what? I have enormous respect for the president. He's a friend. We've worked together. I think he has done a great job in many respects. But you know what? Like any other human being, he is wrong on certain issues. Now tell me, at what point do grown people, well, that's not a fair question, because I guess, let me ask it and then you can see why it's not fair. I was going to say, at what point do grown people stop being fooled by someone who is just pandering to you and realize that this person on the other side who is telling you something that you probably don't want to hear and probably don't want to admit, they're the ones telling you the truth, compared to the other one who's telling you exactly what you want to hear and exactly what makes you feel good. They're the one who is not telling you the truth. They're the ones who are pandering to you and just want you for your vote. A person who is willing to say something to you that is not popular but true is risking losing your vote because they told you the inconvenient truth. The inconvenient truth is President Obama has done a great job, but like any other human being, he is wrong on certain issues. That is the absolute truth. Hillary Clinton, on the other hand, is saying, oh no, President Obama has done everything right. President Obama has been phenomenal. President Obama we have to continue President Obama's legacy. We have to protect his legacy. He's done exactly what we needed him to do. At what point do grown people stop falling for someone pandering to them and realize that the person who is not telling you the convenient thing, the person who is telling you the difficult thing, is probably the person that you want, to hear from. Now, we just had Jesse. Oh, here he is.
Hello.
Jesse, how are you? Can you hear me?
Good evening.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, let me step outside. I'm at the
Okay, I'm gonna place
dinner.
Okay, I'm
First
gonna
in the West caucus dinner. Bernie Sanders here,
okay.
be here. President Bill Clinton's gonna speak.
Okay, hang on one second. Let's do this. I'm going to give you my number. Okay, let's see if it's a little better now. Hang on. Let's see if we got a better volume on you. We're live on the air, so we want to make sure that we can hear you nicely and clearly. Jesse, try it again. Say hello for me, Jesse. And unfortunately, I don't have you. So let's do it like this. I'm going to throw you my my call-in number. I'm going to send that call-in number to you now. It's 857-600-0518. And by now, I know one of my producers are trying to email it to you. So we'll do the call. If you can call in, and we'll do it over the phone because I can't get your audio. All right. So we're going to pick that up in a second. And so I'm going to reach out to Niz. Niz, if you would send over the phone number to his email address, and we'll do it that way. So we're getting ready to be joined, ladies and gentlemen, by a candidate for Nevada's 3rd District, Congressional District, Jesse Spade. And he's running as a Bernie Sanders Democrat. I will ask him about Bill Clinton. He was just there with Bill Clinton, so we're going to ask him about Bill Clinton. But when he calls in, we'll continue that conversation. Until I get him there, you can join the conversation, 857-600-0518. And actually, no, don't call in. Keep that line clear for the congressman or the candidate for Congress. You could tweet me at the BPD show, and I am in the chat rooms now checking out your messages and your comments. And then we'll get out of here and go watch the Democratic Forum. I forgot it was tonight. Otherwise, I would have started later. So let's do this. While we wait on him, I'm just going to move over to the next thing. Here we go. That one's too big. That one's too big of an issue. I can't tackle that in 5 minutes. Donald Trump versus the Pope. That's a huge one. But maybe I can do it in 2 minutes. All right. So Donald Trump has challenged the Pope. And essentially, he has started to troll the Pope because the Pope had the nerve in response to a question. A reporter posed a question to him about how he felt about Donald Trump and Donald Trump's criticism of the Pope, saying that the Pope is a pawn in the hand of the Mexican government. And to that, you know, the Pope, is as holy as he may be, he's human. He went straight for the jugular. And he said that, you know, anyone who's talking about building a wall, that person is not a Christian. That's not the Christian thing to do. What's the only thing interesting about this is, one, you know, you almost wish the Pope hadn't said anything about Trump in the first place, because now you elevate Trump even bigger. You know, some trolls you just absolutely have to ignore, and you don't want to make them bigger than what they already are. But it's neither here nor there. It's already done. The second thing that I want to take away from that conversation about Trump and the Pope is how quickly Republicans turn on the Pope, on their religion, on Christianity, when it conveniently doesn't line up with their political plans. That's something that we've talked about ad nauseum on the show, that their religion only goes as far as their political ideology allows it. And so you see, even Marco Rubio, who is a Catholic, like, not, you know, there's a huge difference between evangelicals and Catholics, but Marco Rubio himself, who is a Catholic, has come out against the Pope, essentially saying that the Pope's words have no place in politics, which seems tremendously disingenuous coming from people. Here we go. We got the congressman here. It seems tremendously disingenuous coming from people who all they have done is insert their religion into politics. Now, I'm going to make a hard stop because we have attorney Jesse Spade on the line. Attorney Spade, am I pronouncing your last name correctly, first of all?
It's yes, Sbaih. Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us through the phone line. It's a much better connection here. We wanted to get a chance to, I know you're in the event, so we'll just keep the interview as quickly as we can. I wanted to get a chance to have my audience and people who are going to be listening to this later find out who you are as a progressive running in Nevada in the 3rd district, and tell us more about your platform, what you represent, what you stand for. So before we jump into all that, just tell us who you are and why are you running for this position?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate your audience listening in and watching you tonight. Let me begin a little bit about myself. People often ask me, why are you running for Congress? I'm an attorney. I've been a trial attorney for many years. My wife is a physician here in the district, in Nevada 3rd Congressional District. We have 3 lovely children. And I get asked often, why are you running? And I tell people it's really simple for me. I love our country. I love our community. And I really love the American dream. And let me tell you why, Ben. See, about 29 years ago, I was an 11-year-old boy. Still really didn't know much about the world. My father was a successful attorney. My mother was an English teacher. And my parents had a dream to provide their son Jesse and his siblings with a better life. And that better life could only be found in a country called America. So we immigrated from Jordan, a staunch ally of the United States, and we landed in Chesapeake, Virginia. Then when I arrived, then I was 11 years old. I didn't speak any English. I had to carry a dictionary on with me for a couple of years to speak with my teachers, friends, classmates, and everybody I met. And thanks to the wonderful American people who helped me and embraced me from day one, they took the time to teach me English, and they invested the time and the effort to do that. And I'm really forever grateful for that. So when I was about 12 years old, shortly after we came as an immigrant with no extended family and no connections, we began to struggle financially, Ben. And so my parents would not dream of asking anyone for help. So as a result, I had to stand up and help my family survive financially. So at the age of 12, I began working as a dishwasher. Started washing dishes at an Italian restaurant in Virginia to help my family survive. So worked many hours as a young man, a youngster. There were many nights where I had to work late into the evening washing dishes and go home and pretty much study all night for a test the next day. And it was really difficult. But despite all the difficulties, then I was really grateful for the sacrifices my parents made for me, and for the opportunity to be part of this great nation. And the more this great country gave me, the more I wanted to give back. And thanks to the opportunities this great nation has given me, I was able to graduate with honors from high school, get a scholarship to University of Miami in Florida, where I majored in economics and political science. I went off to law school on a scholarship and graduated near the top of my class. And then I had the privilege of working for the Vice Chief Justice in the Supreme Court after law school. And for the past 10 years or so, I've had my own law firm, a small business where I employ outstanding people from our community here in Nevada. And so I'm immensely grateful for those opportunities that I've been given, and thanks to the American people and the opportunities this great country has given me, I've been able to accomplish the American dream. But sadly, I feel that the American dream is slipping away from far too many Americans. And I want to make sure that we do give the people the hope, and we want to give people a dream, and we establish the American dream.
Okay, so I love that story. Thank you for sharing that, and your willingness to tie your success and appreciate the ability for you to get that success with so many Americans who currently are left out of that success. So just a personal thanks from me, because that's something that's very, very, very key to me and what I represent and what I stand for. Let me ask you a couple of key questions.
Sure.
What makes you, you've been labeled, and what I've seen online, I've seen some of your other interviews, that you really support and represent what Bernie Sanders stands for. So let's start there. What particular policies do you like that Bernie Sanders is espousing, that if you were to make it into Congress with or without Bernie Sanders in the White House, what would you continue to push in your progressive agenda?
Yes, and that's a great question. I know people are struggling out there. There are many, many, many issues facing our country and facing my constituents in the 3rd Congressional District. And what I want really through this campaign, I want people to dare to dream, man. I've walked my district so many times and spoke with so many people People are sick and tired of the status quo. They're sick and tired of the establishment. They're sick and tired of being told who to vote. And they're sick and tired of just being left behind. And I can't stand for that. And I'm frustrated just as much as they are. And I want people to start to dare to dream. I want them to dare to dream about healthcare for everyone. It should be a right. There's no question that it should be a right in this great nation. We can't have people in this great nation in 2016 who lack basic health insurance. We can't have that anymore. We need to dream about universal health care. We also need to dream about, we need to have the best college education for our people. They deserve it. An educated society is a productive society. And we can start that by making sure that students who do well in school, in high school, 3.0 or higher, they should have the right to go to college for free. Nobody should be denied college based on how much their parents work, how much their parents make. Nobody should be denied that opportunity. Not in America. Not today. Not in 2016. So when I get to when I get to Congress, I want to make sure, and I'm gonna work really hard to make sure that students who have a 3.0 or higher get free college tuition. But there's a caveat to that, Ben. Okay, if they don't take advantage of that opportunity, they will have to pay that money back if they don't graduate or if they drop out of school.
I can dig that.
And that would be considered a loan.
Yeah. No, I can totally. Yeah, you don't want to throw away the investment, right? So that's absolutely, in my opinion, I think that's a fair requirement. Okay, so let me ask a couple of key questions. You said something in there about the establishment, and before we switched over from the video hangout over to the phone call, you mentioned that you're at an event with Bill Clinton getting ready to speak. Tell me how you feel about the Democratic establishment, which is for me and my audience, it's a very real thing. And for me personally, I think someone like Bill Clinton he's the epitome of the Democratic establishment. How do you find your relationship falling in that? How do you fall in that nexus, right, between being pulled towards the establishment by someone like Bill Clinton and your progressivism that may not on every occasion fall in line with the Democratic establishment? What do you do?
Well, I'm actually tonight here. We're going to have the privilege of having Bernie Sanders here tonight as well. And Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is going to be here at this event that I'm at tonight. And,
awesome.
President Bill Clinton is going to be the main speaker here. Listen, at the end of the day, what really bothers me about the establishment is they anoint, preordain, and they put people up to run for office. And they just expect people to follow, okay? And people have done that for years. But as we were saying with Senator Sanders, the American people have woken up. It's not politics as usual anymore, okay? And so I disagree with that method. I think we live in a democracy that everybody who's ready, willing, and able to serve our country and give it 110% should have the opportunity to run for office and win and not be blocked. And here's the other thing that bothers me about the establishment is the flow of super PAC money. So whoever they anoint and whoever they preordain, then that person gets all the money in the world to try to trash the other person, right? And that's what it's all about. They're trashing the other person so they don't have an opportunity to win. And we saw what happened recently with the ban on lobbyist donations, that President Obama put that in place for a reason. Because it should not, we don't need that kind of money in politics. And unfortunately, the establishment went back and lifted that ban that was there for the right reason or for the right purpose. So it's a bit frustrating, that what the establishment is doing. We need to take this dark money, and that's what it goes into campaign finance reform. We need to take the dark money, super PAC money, out of this political process. It's really corrupting the process. It's diluting people's votes, and we should not have that in a great nation like this, where money rules and billionaires and corporations can buy elections. We need to make sure when I'm elected, I want to make sure that we resolve that problem. This is one of the most serious problems facing our nation in this day and age.
Okay, let me ask you a few more questions, then I'll let you go. I don't know if you have about 3 more minutes to give me. If you
sure,
could, that'd be good. All right, great. So let's say A couple of things here. So the first one I want to ask you about is, let's say you get the this primary, you win the primary, which means you'll be running against the Republican candidate in the general election. You will then be inundated by the very structure that you just described, because they will be coming to support you, all hands on deck to lift you up, to help you beat your Republican opponent. How do you stay above the fray? How do you not get absorbed into that exact same structure? Because if you win this primary, they're coming to wrap their arms around you very tightly.
Right. Well, I mean, I think we have a great example in Senator Bernie Sanders. He has stayed away from super PAC money. His contributions have been made by just average citizens who care about our country and care about the future of our country, who believe in his vision. And I do have a vision that it almost mirrors Senator Sanders' vision for this great nation and taking this great nation to greater heights. So at the end of the day, I will not, and I can tell you, and I will go on the record, I will not succumb to super PAC money. No matter what, my campaign will continue, is and will continue to be a campaign for the people and by the people.
Okay. All right, great. Let me follow up with a question on the college conversation that we had, because as I was sitting here and I thought about it, you know, I personally think that your plan to your suggestion that if someone doesn't finish college, it converts into a loan. Where is it simply finishing college, or is there a time limit? Because some students, let's say someone coming from an underprivileged community, may take longer, right? It took me 8 years to get my BA. Now, after that, I blew through my master's and I'm almost doing my PhD. So, you know, that's besides the point. Yeah, but it took me 8 years to get my first degree. Are you proposing a time limit on completion, or is it just a hard, fast, you have to finish, and there's really no time limit on that? Because that could be kind of shaky for someone coming from a background like mine.
That's a great point. And I think the point is the individual needs to finish. And there will be some exceptions. There's illness, family emergencies, things like that may arise that were unforeseeable at the time the individual entered school. Mm-hmm. So for those, there will be exceptions for that. If somebody has to leave school for some reason or another, sure, it doesn't convert into a loan right away. And I think my plan would contemplate perhaps a year. After a year, if that person does not return to school, then it would convert into a loan. But in the meantime, to address your question directly, there would be no time limit. People have different circumstances. Sometimes they have children, mm-hmm. they have jobs that they need to go to, or both, and right. They can't go to school full time. Right. Everybody has circumstances. So as long as that person is enrolled, at least part-time in school, they will get that benefit of having free tuition.
Absolutely, because that's the only reason I'm right now still in this PhD program, because life happens, right? And my perfect example is I'm having to take 2 semesters off, but I only have a year. And after these 2 semesters off, I have to get back in, or else, you know, so I think that's very fair. And I wanted to make sure we had a chance to clear that up. 2 more questions, and then I'm going to let you go. Number one, sure. Alex Singer, we just had him on our show on Tuesday night. Great guy, running for the same district, very progressive, very strong on the issues. Have you had a chance to debate with him, to unpack the issues, or what do you know about his campaign? Would you be willing to debate or speak? I'm just throwing this out here. There's nothing that he said. I just want to know, you know, we have 2 Bernie Sanders Democrats running in the same district, and, you know, we want to support both of you, but only one of you can win. So tell me, what do you know about Alex's campaign, and have you guys done any debates or anything like that?
I saw we had a Q&A with Alex earlier this, when was it? Last week. Mm-hmm. It was last Monday. And he's a nice guy. He's 29 years old. I think he's passionate about our country. And you know, I think this is a true democracy when you have people of different backgrounds and different ages and diverse. When you have a diverse candidate, I think it's great. I think it gives people the opportunity to choose instead of having just one mm-hmm. that had his or her path cleared by the establishment, where you have various choices. So I think ultimately it's going to be up to the people to decide. I'm proud to say that I just got a huge endorsement from the Democracy for America. So they believe in me and they believe in my ability to win this race over Alex and over Jackie Rosen, who's the establishment candidate. And I'm going to continue to work hard. And I think it's going to be ultimately this is what this great nation is founded on, and this is what many people died for is the right to vote.
Absolutely,
to give us the right to vote. And so people on the primary is going to be June 14th. So between now and then, Alex, myself, and Jackie Rosen will have to reach out to the voters, and it'll be up to them. Regarding debating Alex, I'm happy to debate anybody, anytime, any place. I think it's very important.
I like that spirit.
That we all reach out to the voters and let the voters see where we stand, and so everything is nice and transparent, and so they can make an informed decision.
I love that spirit. Anytime, any place, anywhere. And if no one else does it for you, I'm sure we can get it set up here, an online debate. Last but not least, and I think the most important, what are your gut feeling? What is your gut feeling overall on the ground game there in Nevada for Democrats as a whole, Bernie Sanders in specific, and even your campaign? What is the ground game looking like there?
Oh man, I wish you were here. It is amazing. I have never seen an election cycle like this ever in the state of Nevada. It is absolutely unbelievable, electric around here. People are so excited about the two candidates, and they're very, very excited about our caucus on Saturday. For those Nevadans listening to this show tonight, please go out and caucus and vote for your favorite candidate. And it's just absolutely incredible, Ben. I mean, the energy and the overall environment is terrific. We've done a lot of, as far as my campaign is concerned, we've been doing a lot of great things. We've been very active, talking to people, and I have excellent staff who are doing a great job. And so my campaign is in really good shape. In the past few days, we've done a lot of work to help Bernie Sanders win the caucus here in Nevada. We've sent out over 100,000 emails asking people to go and caucus for him. We did some robocalls for him. We got about 3,000. I think my staff told me about 3,000 people pre-registered for the caucus.
Wow.
To go caucus for him. Also, I recorded a radio ad this morning. It's going to run tomorrow and Saturday prior to the caucus. It's a 30-second radio ad to help get people to go out and basically introduce them to Senator Sanders and let them know what kind of things he's going to do for us once he's elected president. And to urge them to join me in supporting Senator Sanders on Saturday at caucus for him.
Awesome. Listen, Jesse, Attorney Sbaih, I definitely appreciate your time. Would you do us a favor and tell everyone what we can do to help support you and where we can find you?
Yeah, please. Listen, if you're listening and you're from Nevada or Southern Nevada, Clark County, please, we need volunteers. Volunteers are great. And if you would help us, would be great. And if you're from my district, please vote. And I would appreciate it. I would be honored if you would vote for me. Also, we need contributions. And my campaign is built on contributions from amazing people like you, Ben, and your listeners who truly care about our democracy, and they care about the future of our country, and they want to see our country go to greater heights. We're the greatest nation in the world, and we just need to continue working to always improve in what we're doing. So please, if you're able to contribute, that would be greatly appreciated. You can find me on, you can go to my website, or you can sign up to volunteer and to contribute if you're able. Every dollar counts. My website is vote, Sbaih, SBAIH.com. When you're on my website, there's links for my Twitter handle and for my Facebook page. So please go to my Facebook and just try to learn as much as you about me as you can. And if you have any questions, I'm very available. I'll just try to make myself available for questions. There's a phone number on the website. There's an email on the website. So feel free to contact me with any questions you may have.
Awesome. Now, I'm going to hold you to what you said earlier. You'll debate anyone, anytime, any place, anywhere. We'll be reaching out to you to see if we can take you up on that offer.
Thank you so much. I look forward to it. And thank you so much for making the time for me tonight, and for your audience for listening to me. I'm really excited about the opportunity to represent this great nation and to help get back to the country that has given me so much and allowed me to really live the American dream that should be available for every American.
That's it right there. Ladies and gentlemen, this is attorney Jesse Spade. He's running for the 3rd District in Nevada. And thanks so much for joining us. And I'll let you get back to all of the festivities that you're in.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there at the very last tail end. 857-600-0518, ladies and gentlemen. I believe the town hall started late, and so it's getting ready to. It's either in full swing. I do have to do this one last thing before we go. I have to talk about an article that is 2 years old, but it's so relevant to what Jesse Spade just got through saying. And it's a 2-year-old article, actually 3 years now, over in Huffington Post, and I'm pulling it up on the screen. I'll share it in the chat room. But it talks about everyone in America is even more broke than you think. And I really have to share the screen on this one, and I'll describe it the best I can for those of you listening to on the radio. It goes down the line of the real economic condition. So actually, let me pivot hard from where the last caller, not caller, but Jesse Spade just discussed. He has acquired success in America, and he wants to see that success extended to everyone else, or at least that everyone else has an opportunity for that success. Now, you know, that's a political promise, and that's something that you have to hold. Someone who makes that promise to you have to hold them accountable for. So whether he does it or not, that's up to you as a constituent to hold his feet to the fire. But the bigger, broader picture is true in America, that there is a lot of success in America, but that success is not being passed to those opportunities for success are not trickling down. And this is an article from 2013 asking, where do you stack up? And I just want you to kind of take a real hard look at the reality of where people are in America. If you make more than $10,000 a year, you earn more than 24.2% of Americans, or 37 million people. So there's 37 million people as of 2013, according to the Social Security Administration, that make less than $10,000 a year. And this is out of 153 million wage earners. So these are people who are working, right? These are not people who are living on benefits. These are people who are working. If you make more than 10,000 a year, you make more than 37 million Americans. If you make more than 15,000 a year, then you make more than 32% of all Americans, which is roughly the annual salary for a minimum wage job working 40 hours a week. Minimum wage in America gets you $15,000 a year. If you make more than $30,000 a year, you make more than half of Americans. If you make more than 50,000, then you're in the top 73 percentile. You're making more than 73.4% of Americans. If you make more than $100,000 a year, which in a city like Boston is just enough for you to strangle and barely survive, then you're making more than 92% of all Americans. Let me skip to the punch. You're in the top 1% if you make over $250,000 a year, and the 894 people who make more than 20 million a year, they make more than 99.99989% of all Americans. The stark reality of it is here and here. 10,000 and 15,000. That there's 24% of Americans who are working make less than 10,000 a year. These are people who are actually working. When you see people on television telling you that that all we need to worry about is identity and never economics, you have to realize they don't understand what it's like to make less than probably $100,000 or $250,000 a year. And so economics is completely irrelevant to them because there is great success in America. That success is just not attainable by everyone. And so you have people, you know, who make these salaries that are so disconnected from the rest of America, lecturing us about what should be important to us. And I sit back and I watch all of these people. You know, Hillary Clinton is the quintessential example of this, because in 8 years, how long has it been since they've been, so almost 16 years since they left the White House, they've made over $100 million. Yet she wants you to not talk about income inequality. She wants you to talk about identity politics. Only worry about feminism, only worry about racism, only worry about all these different identities, but don't unpack those identities and see underneath being a woman is the struggle of so many millions of American women who are in poverty. Underneath just my identity as a black man, there are millions of black people in America who are living in poverty. But they want to stop the conversation at your identity, and they play on that because it's embedded in our system. We're all emotional. We have trigger reactions to someone saying uterus, but we don't have trigger reactions to more than 37% of Americans. I don't want to quote the numbers wrong. Where is it? Hell, let me say it right. $10,000 or less. 24.2 of Americans make less than $10,000 a year. That doesn't even register. But you should be mad about a damn uterus. Or you should be mad because Bernie Sanders didn't have the right number of black faces in the Iowa ad. But feel absolutely nothing about the fact that there are millions, 37 million people in America who make less than $10,000 a year. And they get on television and tell you that you shouldn't worry about that because that's not important to black people. That's not going to solve racism. That's not going to solve sexism. So you should worry about, you should worry about someone speaking politically correct, but don't worry about the fact that you have 37 million Americans making less than $10,000 a year. Or the reality of someone like you or like me who may be stuck somewhere between making $50,000 and $100,000 a year, and yet and still you live in situations where that money is gone before the end of the month. Not because you're out partying, but because, childcare costs a mortgage in America. I pay more in childcare than I do on our housing. Or because, housing is exorbitant. Which brings me back to this son of a bitch out of San Francisco. Listen to this guy. What's his name? Justin Keller. He says that the residents of this amazing city no longer feel safe. He's complaining about homeless people. I know people are frustrated about gentrification happening, but the reality is we live in a free market society. So in other words, I know you're upset because your rents are so high that the place that you lived in for years is now no longer accessible to you, but that's just the free market. Besides, this is him saying, these are his words, verbatim. The wealthy working people have earned their right to live in the city. They went out, got an education, worked hard, and earned it. I shouldn't have to worry about being accosted. I shouldn't have to see the pain, struggle, and despair of homeless people. As though people were making $10,000 a year or less, or as though somebody making $15,000 a year working 40 hours a week is not working hard. As though poverty has no effect on the educational attainment of a child. As though the entire trajectory of a child's life is not set by the income strata that they are born in which they are born. And so now a person who was either born middle class or born in upper middle class or born wealthy is looking down on someone who was probably born in poverty. And if you're born in poverty in America, you're going to die in poverty in America. Odds are. But I shouldn't have to see the pain, struggle, and despair of homeless people to and from my way to work every day. You know what, Keller? Kiss my middle class black ass. Because if the only pain and struggle you have to worry about is seeing the pain and struggle in a homeless person's life, there's no insult enough to go after that. That sentence in itself is the insult. The only thing you have to worry about, the only thing you have to struggle with is having to bear witness to someone else's struggle. And the sadder reality of it is that a guy like this quite possibly thinks he's progressive because he supports gay marriage, or perhaps he supports a woman's right to choose, or perhaps he might even support Black Lives Matter. But he should not have to be accosted witnessing the suffering and pain of people who are homeless. You don't get a pass. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. You don't get a pass, an economic pass, just because you are pro-choice and you are pro-Black Lives Matter, and because you are whatever, pro-marriage equality. You don't get a pass. Because if you are not addressing the economic plight of the average American, then you're not progressive. And so we've seen this filter and creep into the Democratic Party. And now you have someone like Hillary Clinton, who in the last 16 years has made over $100 million doing speeches to Wall Street. I don't care that she made him $100 million. What I care about is the influence that $100 million coming from Wall Street is going to have on her if she becomes president. But more importantly, what I care about is someone in that economic strata telling me that we should not worry about income inequality. When income inequality is glaring, it's in our face, and the opportunities that income inequality ravages from us, rips away from us, those opportunities are lost forever. When a person is born in poverty, they have a slim to none chance to get out of that poverty. No matter how they could go to school, it's unless you've taught in an impoverished community, you don't really understand what poverty does to education. So all of these people running around saying all you have to do is get an education. No, an education can't be attained when you go home and your lights are off. When you go home and you don't have a secure food, and you don't have a secure housing, when you go home and you don't have all of the resources at your disposal, you have to go to the public library. You have to catch a ride to the public library. You have to get money to get on a train to get to the public library just to get access to the internet to do your assignment. Unless you have seen what poverty can do to education, then you really wouldn't understand what poverty does generationally. And you really wouldn't understand that someone born in poverty is going to probably die in poverty. And so it's completely irrelevant to you because your entire breadth of experiences has been from the pristine perch of the middle class and the upper middle class and then the top 1%. In other words, you have not a damn clue. And unfortunately, that cluelessness has filtered into the Democratic Party, where you have black faces, you have white faces, you have women faces, you have gay LGBT faces who are all successfully fighting the identity politics fights which need to be fought, but haven't a damn clue about what it is to be poor in America. Caller, you're live on the air. Thanks for your patience. You got the last word tonight. What's on your mind?
Hey, Ben, that's Bryce.
Bryce, what's happening, man? Appreciate the call. What's up?
Well, Bernie's doing a good job on his town hall. I'm watching that. I agree with everything that you just said. And it speaks to the bigger issue of it is about money at the end of the day. It is about, equality, in terms of money. And if Bernie is pushing that, and it's just crazy, how people can't see what he's pushing, and that the 1% you could say, and the other people that kind of want to keep it status quo, just because they don't, I guess, want to share the wealth or whatever. And then obviously in terms of Obama, with him speaking with Black Lives Matter, which is important, is good, but yes, it is years late. And maybe he felt, he couldn't get anything done hypothetically. I don't know. I don't want to make excuses, but, I know that he goes through a lot, but it's like, I feel you still could have put down a little more harder. And obviously he's facing a lot of opposition, and, if Bernie is able to get this done and win without opposition he'll face, that's why it's important that we get a Supreme Court judge that is, fair, that is, progressive, and it's important that we move to a progressive situation. But I guess my question is not making excuses for anything, because we know how politics stuff can be. But do you think the opposition affected Obama, and if it could affect Bernie in getting some of the progressives, getting full progressive, getting 100% progressive? And do you think Obama affected him, of course, being 100% progressive? I know I've done this before, but I guess the opposition, and do you think that he gave up? He gave up too fast? There's speech that he gave where I felt the anger, I felt the melting down of, like, I can't get shit done. It just, you can feel it. And even how when Bernie goes off in these town halls, and it talks about things, and then you hear the late not supporting Bernie and stuff. And it's like the opposition is just, it can get frustrating, I guess. What's your opinions on that? Thank you.
Hey, my pleasure, man. Thanks so much for the call. I will say that we can't stop fighting. As cliche as that sounds, we cannot stop fighting, even though it is an uphill battle. I mean, it is beyond an uphill battle. I think President Obama ran up against it. And I think even if Bernie Sanders wins, or when he wins, however you want to say it, he is going to run up against it, because it is a system that is fully and thoroughly controlled by those in economic and political power. And it's not going to go down easy. It's not even going to be reformed easily, let alone overturn. Nobody's overturning this system, right? Let's forget about that. In my opinion, forget about it. If you're trying to overthrow this system, you might as well be waiting for first contact from aliens. You might as well be waiting for whatever. It's not going to happen. Reforming this system is almost our only hope, and even that is an uphill battle. But what do? Do we throw in the towel and leave it at the reality that, over 32% of Americans make less than $15,000 a year working 40 hours a week? And more importantly to me than that is the fact that children born into that scenario are more likely to remain in that scenario. It does take generations to build wealth, but when our system is set up such that you can't break out of the where you were born, you can't break out of the strata that you were born in, then we have a caste system. We don't have a free market system. We have a caste system that locks you into the very same position in which you were born, under which you were born. And so do we throw in the towel for that? I don't know. I can't. I personally can't. All right, folks, I don't know who's on this thing. Are they done? You guys tell me, are they done with this? Is Bernie done? I didn't mean to talk through Bernie, but is someone give me an update on where they are? I'm going to stall for a couple of seconds. because there's like a 15-second delay that I have to stall for so that they can see my question. All right, so who's up? Bernie is done. Hillary is up. Why do they put? But they always give Hillary the last word, right? Well, she won't do it, and no, if you Trump will have Tyler Gavin looks like a good candidate to get put out of my room. Anyway, folks, I've done everything. Just reading your questions. Oh, tomorrow night, I promised tomorrow and Saturday I'm going to do a question and answer on Twitter. We crossed 5,000 followers on Twitter today, which is pretty cool, right? We're growing. My voice is only as strong as we all are together. Help us build. I make this plea all the time, but I'm going to make this plea very passionately now, because do you guys know what we're up against? You do realize that this is bigger than Sanders. You do realize this fight is going to go beyond this primary. It's going to go beyond this election. Even if Hillary wins, if Bernie wins, whoever wins, this progressive movement will continue. The problem is you see firsthand the manipulative propagandistic games that people who share our gender, our orientation, who share our skin color, they're willing to play to suppress the conversation on income inequality and wealth disparity in America. We have to lift each other up to fight back against that. That's why I built the Progressive Army. That's why we're building the Progressive Army, so that we can build other voices, not only mine, but other voices that are equally as fearsome. That's why I'm going to, Noah, I don't know if you listen tonight, but that's why we're going to make sure you get your own YouTube channel set up, and we push people over there to you so that we can develop your voice. That's why I got people like Niz on my team who has got his own perspective. We're building other people to do this. But as we build other people, I need you to help build the Benjamin Dixon Show. I need you to help push us out there. I need you to get the word out. I need you to share videos, because we have to fight back against the establishment, which is a real thing. It is not a cliche. It is not a conspiracy theory. There is an establishment that all they have to do is never have to justify what they do. All they have to do is use their platforms to attack anyone who challenges the establishment. And you know what? People like me, people like Noah, people like the Progressive Army, we're the right ones, because we'll take the fight directly to the heart of the beast, and we ain't got nothing to lose. So you can support us by subscribing. You can support us by sharing. You can support us by becoming a patron. You can support us by however you can join the team and help us build even further our capacity and our reach. There's so many ways that you can help us. Independent media is only a portion of it. Getting other voices out there is another big chunk of it. So with that being said, I'm out. This is the Benjamin Dixon Show. I will catch you guys on Monday. I think the Progressive Army will be doing something on the caucus on Saturday. So stay tuned in. We'll send an email out about that. And also we will, I don't know, maybe I'll get somebody to host a show tomorrow night, a special show. But it won't be me, but somebody can. I'll cut the channel on so that you guys can come and check it out. All right, folks, that's the Benjamin Dixon Show for tonight. Where is my closing music? Right there. Holla. Wait. Hold on. Thank you, David. Help us reach 10,000. That's what you can do. Help us reach 10,000. Subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. Now, closing music. Let's go.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog, join the Progressive Army, and support the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Crazy mother.
If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
Consider becoming a Patreon. Go to www.patreon.com/the BPD Show and support the Benjamin Dixon Show.